Hey everybody, welcome to Ref Time, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. So, our guest in the studio today is none other than the great
Gianna Hearn.
Gigi.
What's up?
What's up? And we got to say, you are the wife of
Reggie Hearn.
Reggie Hearn. We got to say
He's pretty cool.
He's all right.
Maybe we should say he's the husband of Gianna.
That's what people are saying nowadays in the G League, actually. People are starting to say that, which is interesting.
Well, plus him not playing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely takes his fame out of the loop a little bit. Plus, he's just happy with being a happy dad and a happy husband.
Yes,
I got lucky.
Yeah, well, I think you both got lucky.
You guys did a good job, I guess. Give you guys some props.
Well, thank you.
Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. I'm glad we could have you out.
We were actually just talking about that on the way over, and we were saying, well, we did the best we could
with what we had.
With what we had,
And
so
right,
that's
with what knowledge
do.
we had.
You do the best you can with what you have. First question I have for you, G, is how long have you been around basketball?
Wow. I probably started playing maybe around 5 in a church league, but never got serious with it until my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
My family moved around too much. We had a lot of chaos in my childhood. So we didn't have time to do like AAU or anything like that. So I didn't get serious with basketball until probably my freshman year. But once I started it, it was like no looking back.
Oh, yeah. So you played on the school team?
Yeah, definitely. From freshman year on, I was on varsity, and yeah.
And you played in college, right?
I did not play in
You
college.
did not play in
no,
college. Okay.
I could have, but I had many knee injuries by that point and chose not to play any sports in college. So.
Okay.
Did you say from freshman on you played varsity? Is that what I heard you say?
I mean, I did, but I grew up in Reno, Nevada, which is not Indiana, which from what Reggie tells me is the basketball state.
This is basketball.
You know, I don't get it because I'm not from here, but
Right.
yeah, so maybe in Reno, it's like, oh, if I was here, I don't know. What would have happened? Would I have been on varsity my freshman year? Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, what
Depends
about
on the
your
school
friend?
you would go to,
Yeah.
too.
That's-
I mean,
that's
you know,
true.
around here, it really kind of depends on the...
Because there are some
school,
basketball
so.
schools here, and there's some other schools that are, let's just say, not basketball. So now, what about your friends, though? The ones that were freshmen with you, did they also play varsity up, or were you the only one?
No, not really. But I also did go to a high school that was not just a high school. It was 7th grade through 12th grade when it started.
Okay.
And so I was able to play with older kids, and I think that really helped develop
Yes.
me pretty quickly because not propping myself up, but I just had natural athletic ability, where just a lot of speed and agility. I could jump, so that just fit well in many of the sports at that time.
So you said you had injuries on your knees, and you've told us that before. Both knees or just one knee?
Both knees, but mainly my right knee. I've had surgery on my right knee.
What happened to make it start getting weak? Did you have an injury? Were you born with something? What happened?
Yeah, you know, like I said, I took basketball serious freshman year, but I did play in 7th grade, and I went down from a rebound, like maybe in PE, and I dislocated my knee. And ever since then, it was like knee injury after knee injury, but nothing that I needed surgery for at that point. And then track really became one of my sports, and so I was constantly injuring it, but I didn't want to miss out on the, running. So I was like, I'm not doing anything about it. And I also didn't take what my coaches were saying seriously as far as like weight training and stretching. I wasn't doing anything like that.
Most teenagers are not.
Don't. We don't.
So, since you've played the game, and obviously you're involved in it even today, what are your thoughts on when you were playing? How did you interact with officials? Because, that's our primary focus is, for this podcast is talking about officiating and stuff. So what was your interactions like with officials?
I would say like I really didn't have too many young because I always just grew up to respect refs. So like I didn't really speak to them, talk back. And I also wasn't watching the NBA a lot. So I wasn't getting the influence of what pros were doing.
Right.
I wasn't watching college. So I didn't even have like, this is how you should interact or could interact.
Right.
The only way I knew was like, okay, they're in charge. If I argue, they're not going to change it. So in my mind, it was like, what's the point? Like, let's just run and play. Like, that's how I felt.
It's kind of still the way we are. We don't really change calls when we get argued with, right?
Right?
No, we don't.
I always ask Reggie that. I'm like, please explain to me why you argue so hard. I understand if you think that you can argue and then the refs will start paying attention maybe to something they weren't.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, why not argue? Like, don't argue. Just like say, hey, check this out next time, or pay attention. Like, I don't know. Maybe Reggie says I'm not a man, so I don't have the testosterone. I'm not getting going, whatnot.
I am a man, and I still think Reggie was overkill on the way he
A little bit, right?
Officials. Yeah, the way he would argue with officials, I'd look at him, and when we would talk, I'd go, "Why do you do that, Dad? No. I'm a ref, and when you act like that, we look at you with very little respect." Yeah, I'm noticing that. Yeah, keep your mouth shut. But he thinks that. Well, that's another story.
Yeah.
But, I guess a question I have to piggyback off of that, how have your views changed about officiating or even playing since you started being involved with a pro player intimately? How have your views changed towards the game?
Yeah, so before I married Reggie, I started out being a sideline reporter. So I was covering basketball since I was 18. And at that point, I started thinking that officials didn't have a rhyme or reason. Like, I was like, there's no consistency. Okay. I would feel fine if there was consistency in calls, and I wasn't seeing that often. So that was my thing. And then being married to Reggie, I still kind of felt the same way. And it wasn't until I spent time interviewing some female refs that were in the G League. We focused on doing that for Women's History Month. And then they were able to tell me kind of some the behind the scenes stuff that I would never know about, never heard, the amount of effort they put into their job, the amount of film that they're watching, the scrutiny that comes with it. So then I started to view reffing in a whole new light, because I figured, based off what they're telling me, I could never do this job. Like, God did not build me to take in that type of heat, to be that poise, that's just not me. So I would definitely say it's changed. I still feel like I'm not sure if I really understand what a travel is, because it's never called the same way. Like, as a commentator, when I'm asked, hey, what do you think about this play? I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think, because whoever's officiating the game sees it that way. So I'm like, I don't really have a lot of opinions when it comes to that. Maybe a strong foul, I'm like, okay, that was blatant. I'm not understanding what they're not seeing. But, I mean, to me, I'm just like, if they're going to call what they call, we're going to watch the game. It is what it is. So in that way, I'm not the greatest commentator, because I don't have too many opinions on what the refs say or see, unless it's egregious, in my opinion.
That's interesting, because I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking, when I watch games and I see officials call the way they do, I don't view it that way. And I think the reason is because, as an official, and knowing how we think, how I think, I'm going, they called that because they're at a different, and I guess that's one point. Fans and commentators are sitting in one spot the whole game.
Yeah.
Officials, we're out on the court, we're moving with the players, and one of the things we teach in our school is what they call ball watching. Most people are ball watchers.
Yep.
Wherever the ball goes, that's where the eyes go, because that's, especially in the higher level, because that's where the excitement is. Who's watching the other 8 players? The other 2 officials are watching that. So we have a different angle, and then we're taught to watch the play from the start, where the ball starts, to where the ball is and when it finishes. So there's 3 different points we're watching. Everybody else is just watching that one instant play. And as I was listening, I was thinking, I think that's why people see things differently than officials, because we're trained to look for different things. Yeah. And we don't care about whether the player scores or not. We just, and I look at my partner, did the ball go in? Yeah. And everybody's like, how did you not see the ball go in? Because I'm watching the play finish. I'm watching to make sure the player comes down. I'm watching, was there fouls when he came down? So it's just a different way to look at the game. And ever since we started becoming officials, when we go to the game, people don't want to sit near us. Yeah. Because we're sitting there analyzing.
Well, unless they think they're going to sit there and ask us questions the entire game, and then we're looking at them like
we're not here for that.
I'm not here for that. Right? And I can't tell you what that official saw. They called what they called or didn't call it. Move on.
And it's easy for us, because, I mean, you're sitting in one spot. The coach is standing in one spot, maybe moving 4 feet this way. Your opinion doesn't matter. You're not out there. We're out there. And we have a better view. But, I get it. I mean, everybody, we all think we're right. Yeah. So.
And they want our team, they want their team to win.
Right. Which, as officials, we don't care about that. Yeah. We really don't. A lot of times when I get done with a game, I'll come home and her and Sydney will be like, where were you?
Sometimes we can get the where he was. It's
and I'll look
the
at my
who
phone.
was
Oh
playing.
yeah. I was at Dwenger. I was at Dwenger. And they go, who are they playing? Come on now, you pushing, and I don't know who.
We don't even ask that anymore.
They were playing No, that was last week. I don't know. Well, who won? For real, seriously.
How many games do you have under your belt in your life? I mean, I
that's a question we've asked a couple of our students. Tom, I was watching. We had another official on. We were watching his podcast, and I asked Tom how many games he had done. And I think he's only been at it 4 years.
Yeah, Tom's only been at it 4.
And I think he said in his first 2 years, in 1 year he had over close to 400 games.
Oh my!
In 1 year.
Because he was doing, when we do games, like he's not just saying like 400 varsity or 400 JV games. Like he's saying that he went out to Spice or Sport One and he did tournament games. And so when we do those games, you're usually out there
6, 7, 8 games
a minimum
a day.
of 3 games usually, up to 6 to 8 games.
And you're talking about every weekend.
Yeah.
And then throughout the week you might do. On Thursday, you might do 3 games. On Wednesday, you might do 2.
Yeah.
So,
and when you do middle school games, a lot of times you do a whole 7th grade and a whole 8th grade game, depending on where you're going. So those, games add up. But yeah, he's been officiating almost 30 years. I mean, even if you just did the minimum of 400, which,
every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do math, but I know it's a lot.
That's a lot.
It is. And when you do game after game after game, it amazes me when people say, you're cheating. I just laugh. I'm like, I don't even know who's playing.
Right. I don't even know where you're from.
I
Like,
don't
we'll get teams that come in from other states. Oh, they don't like us because we're from Michigan. I didn't know that until you said it. I don't.
You have no horse in the race.
Right. None.
None.
I just want to get this game over with so I can get to the next one.
Game. I hope you win. Let's go.
Right.
Who cares? So tell us a little bit about, you've been talking a little bit about what you do, but go into details about what you do. People want to know.
Well, I found a way to stay around basketball. That's what I wanted to, because we mentioned that I played in high school and I loved it. And I just really loved all sports. So I didn't even think about what I was going to do in life. Like that was never a thought. Right. I mean, I knew I wanted to graduate high school. That was the goal for me. But as far as what I wanted to do, I did not know. So when I couldn't play, or I decided, it's not smart for me to do a sport in college because my leg, I just knew it wouldn't be good for me. I was like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to study?
Right.
And the other part of me is that I really loved acting and singing and modeling. So I thought I was going to be a Disney Channel star when I was little. But living in Reno, Nevada, that's not happening. So
why Disney? Out of all the things in the world, why Disney?
Because I was watching Disney Channel a lot as a child, and like they were stars. Like Justin Timberlake came from there, Britney Spears was it. So it was just like, if you were a Disney Channel star, you were going to be a big star in my mind.
Favorite Disney Channel star?
Probably Raven, because I thought she was the only one that was black, and so
I'm
I felt like
familiar with Raven. I'm
you don't know that's so. Well, I mean,
you don't know that's so Raven.
No.
Well,
I grew up with.
Cartoons.
I'm trying to think of the movies and stuff she's been in, but anyway, she somewhat looked like me, so I was like, oh, maybe they'll put me on as her adopted sister or a cousin or something. But anyway, so I took being on TV and sports and said, oh, maybe I could be on TV and cover sports. And I was like, maybe. So I tried it out in college, loved it, and never turned back. So essentially, I started out behind the camera, and I've done a lot of audio and tech work, setting up live trucks. And then I went through being an audio operator, and then a photographer, then an editor, and then a morning anchor, then a sports reporter, then specifically a basketball sideline reporter or commentator. So that's where I'm at now. And
so this is Raven.
That's Raven.
Let me see it again. I don't think I've ever seen her.
That's crazy.
She actually used to be on Bill Cosby when she was little.
Exactly, and she's been on some.
She was the little girl
that
that came on. She wasn't one of their children. She was adopted on Bill Cosby or one of the grandchildren or something. I forget.
If you've seen Dr. Dolittle, she was Eddie Murphy's daughter.
Yeah, on Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, okay, okay, I do remember. Yeah, I would never would have recognized her.
I'll just give you another one. Miley Cyrus, you know who that is? Yeah, I watched Hannah Montana. That was a huge one. So I was a big fan of hers.
That's who Miley Cyrus is. she was Hannah Montana on TV.
Yeah, she was a double, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was so crazy.
That was pretty cool, though. I mean, that was actually kind of unique.
I guess
now
it's a unique concept.
I mean, she's got, CDs and stuff in, I'm dating myself, CDs. But she has music as Hannah Montana, but then she also has music as Miley Cyrus. So she's,
Okay.
She did a lot. But
she did a lot.
Essentially, that was what I've done, who I am now. And ever since being married, now I'm a freelance reporter and I can choose what work I want to take, which is a big thing for me because if anyone knows about news or reporting, it controls your life in every aspect. And so I was really happy to break free from that and now just kind of be my own agent in a sense.
You know, I can relate to that a little bit because when I went to Indiana State, which is a long time ago, I didn't know what major I wanted to be in. And I bounced around for 2 or 3 different ones. Then I found journalism. Fell in love with it. First time I ever had an A in college in my life. And I go,
in school or just college?
Now, see, you didn't have to go there. But
so Reggie did not get his smarts from you.
Anyway, so no, he did not. But got his common sense from me.
That makes sense. Zariah's not getting her smarts from me. I'm telling you, that's coming from Reggie. So I feel you.
Well, tell us about your family.
I am the oldest of 5 kids, and my youngest sibling is 13. So there's a wide range. I'm going to be 33 this year in November. Wow. Baby. Dang, I'm getting old.
You older than my son. You robbed my cradle.
We are 9 months apart.
That's not the point.
That's not even a year.
That's a long
And how
time.
much older are you than me?
So anyway, you were oldest of 5.
Oldest of 5, yeah. And the brother that's closest in age to me, he played AAU. He went to college and played basketball. So that's when it was like, wow, we both loved basketball. I was going to every game. I was supporting him in every way. But every game I'd go to his, he'd get hurt. So he kind of told me to stop coming because he was getting a concussion, breaking his leg. It was just not good.
And this is when we met. This in Florida now, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. And then, I have 2 sisters, 2 brothers. My family's pretty close. I have an adoptive dad, and he's been very instrumental in my life. My mom had me at 16 due to some unfortunate circumstances. And, she's really been a pillar in my life as to what it means to push through some adversity. So it's kind of like the snapshots of my life and my family, but love them to death.
And your dad, you guys are always comparing me and your dad because we're both tall, we're both bald, and whatever.
And both funny. That's what attracted me to you guys as a family. When I first met you guys, I was like, oh, okay, it feels like home because my dad is very sarcastic and he's very funny and he likes to poke and all those things. So I always wanted to look for that in a husband as well because I was used to that. Right. So people that weren't funny or were bland, I was like, that's never going to work. So Reggie got that from you.
Yes, he did.
We do like to have fun in our family.
Yes.
That be true. And it amazes me that people outside of our family think I'm always serious.
Well, they only see you on the court. Is that how? Because taking it back to refs, that's one thing I'm like, wow, they're very serious, especially in the NBA G League where I spend most of my time. And the females, because there's a big influx of females right now. I'm like, wow, I've never seen females that are this serious all the time. But it makes sense to have that posture.
Yeah. Why are they telling you they're so serious?
I'm not necessarily asking them, but what I get from it is they want to make sure that the men in this league know that they're about their business because I would say as a woman that's been in the industry that we are looked at as, potential dates or potential, I don't even know.
Sex symbols.
Because I've been asked out in the middle of a game. And so I think to earn the respect, not even earn, to demand the respect that women should as referees, they have to put themselves out there a certain way. I mean, Reggie would always say when he saw me working, like, oh, she's, about her business. Like, people didn't want to come up to me. And I was like, yeah, I purposely put that out there so that people could respect me because I've had instances when I was 18 covering the Sacramento Kings, just starting out, didn't know anything, coming from a small town, then having all this attention from millionaires, that are stars, and in the middle of an interview in front of all of these reporters being disrespected by an athlete that was very high up that everyone knew. And I was like, okay, I need to put myself out there, not in because I was kind of meek and I was just young. So I was like, I've got to stand a certain way. I have to have a posture. I have to command my presence in a certain way that will demand the type of respect that I want and want to be seen in this industry.
I like that a lot. And, we have conversations in our household. We're very unique in that we have 3 officials, referees, and living in the same
Yeah,
house.
that's crazy.
It is.
That's
it
so
is.
cool.
Husband and wife and daughter. That's very, very unique. And so we have a lot of conversation about females being in this industry. And I remember when I first started helping her, and then we started training Sydney together, and I would always tell them both, look, when you're outside the confines of the court, you need to act this way. And when you're on the confines of the court, you need to become a BITCH. And I remember Sydney was like, why? I said, because these guys will try to chew you up and spit you out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And so and I've learned a lot about female side of officiating since I've started working with her.
Right.
Things like we go into a school, and as a guy, there's certain things I would never notice. Like we go into a school and they have a locker room for their officials. Now we go into a school and they have a locker room for her and a locker room for the guys.
Well, they're supposed to.
They're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she'll say things like, oh, my God, that locker room was nasty. I say, well, yeah. And she goes, you guys get that. I said, but you got to understand, as males, we've been through that nastiness, too, as officials. Because when you walk into a school, a lot of people just look at you, oh, it's just the officials. And they put us in a closet. And
They did put us in a closet this season. The three of us went up to do a game. I won't say where, but we went up to do a game, and they literally put the three of us in,
we drove,
in a closet.
two and a half
like,
hours?
Yeah.
To this high school.
So
Wow.
we didn't even have separate locker rooms. Like they put us in. Granted,
And
we're
it
family.
was actually a mop closet.
Yeah, it was literally
Seriously.
like a mop
Wow.
closet, and
It
we're
was.
like, that's not going to happen again.
No.
Yeah. It's
And
kind of
the-
disrespectful.
Very
I mean,
disrespectful.
And the guy that
didn't give us
invited us,
water. Didn't you
nothing,
know? And I'm
nothing.
like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So-
And you know, the other thing I got to say, it was a girls' game. Now, if it had been a boys' game, we probably would have got treated better. So that's kind of what you're talking about. I've seen that gender thing where it's split between reporters and officials, and even whether it's a boys or a girls' game.
Players, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll go in, and if I'm the only female, you know, they'll put me in one area, or you know, I have to tell them like I need my own room,
And
and then they look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah."
It amazes me. She has to tell them, and I'm looking like, really?
Like you didn't see the list of officials and think, "Oh, that looks like a female's name."
Yeah.
You know. But then on top of it, they'll put me, you know, even if they do have something for me, a lot of times they'll put me in, and they'll say, "Oh, well, the water and the snacks are in the guys' room."
Right.
Oh, it was too difficult for you to carry a bottle of water and throw a couple snacks in.
So I just jam a lot of stuff in our suitcase. We got stuff on the way home. Don't worry about it. We good.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through a similar circumstance where when I was coming up in the ranks, I was a part of this team that created Nevada Sports Network. So it was a big deal that we created a sports network in Reno that covered all Nevada sports.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of work into that, but it was the two guys that always got to travel, and I had to stay home and anchor every show, which also meant me going to all the practice, filming football, filming basketball, cutting it myself, writing my script for the show, and they got to travel. And I never got to travel because they said that would mean we'd have to buy another hotel room, whereas they could stay in the same hotel room. But because I was a female, it was just going to be extra. So therefore, I didn't get to do the fun events, you know, or be a part of those things. And that's when my contract was up, I was like, yeah, I'm out. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I'm not taken seriously here, and I do most of the work. And at this point, it's not worth it. Like, I'm done. And they're pretty upset, but I was glad I left because I moved on and went to the Pac-12 and covered. It was completely different. But I did have a question for you, Tanya, if that's okay to ask a question.
Absolutely.
Sure.
As a female, do you feel like, as a referee, do you feel like there's more pressure on you to get the call right? Because that's sometimes what I can feel when I watch female officials is that, you know, because they have to be stern and this and that they take more flack on whether their calls are right or wrong as perceived by fans or by players or coaches. Do you feel a pressure in that way?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I think definitely early on, I felt that way, but as I've gotten more notoriety, I guess, I don't feel as much pressure, but then it also depends on the type of game. Like, if I were to get a boys' game in the city.
Emphasis on
if. I heard it.
If I were to get a boys' game in the city, I do feel like all eyes would be on me. Like, oh, well, we got to watch her to make sure that we can give her another one. You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I've worked with a lot of guys, and they're all like, I'd absolutely work a boys' game with you. So I'm like, well, I don't know why I'm not getting them.
Yeah. Where's that decision falling?
Yeah. So then a couple years ago, I finally started to trickle some in outside the city. So I have to actually drive an hour and a half or so to actually get a boys' game.
Yeah.
When I'm quite
Makes sense.
qualified to do boys or girls. Like at high school level, it's literally the same rules. I get it if college, because college is different when you're doing men's and women's because they have different rules.
Yeah.
And so at the college level, you know, you have to decide as an official, am I going to do the men's side or am I going to do the women's side?
Okay.
And so I do women's side at the college level, but at the high school level, all the rules are the same. The only thing really different at the high school level is some of the above the rim play,
Makes sense.
because we don't have
Yeah,
girls that really
yeah.
get up above the rim. We've had a couple that can, but that's a phenomenon, you know. So typically, no, I don't feel, but I do feel that yes, as a female official, as a whole group, that we are looked upon like, okay, you got to get these calls right. And I try to get I pride myself on knowing the rules and making sure that we do things the right way. And so, I don't know, did I answer the question?
I think you did.
Okay.
I think one thing, men, at least in this arena, in this area, Fort Wayne, a lot of the guys who are signers, and I started to say observers, but we don't have any formal observers. But I think a lot of them are stuck in the mindset that they've always worked with men in officiating, and they don't think about a reason to break that thought pattern. They discriminate, and when I was on our board of directors, I told them, I said, you guys are discriminating against blacks and against women. And they would go, oh, we're not racist. That word never came out of my mouth. It came out of yours. Well, you're saying that we're sexist and we're racist. Okay, whatever. How come these two groups are getting discriminated against? And they go, we're not discriminating. I'm going, but I don't see them on the court as much. And they still were in denial about it. So I think that they have just been in that mindset for so long that they don't think about having to break out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, a lot of other officials, they'll say, Crane, you actually said that? It's the truth. I mean, why would I hide the truth? It's the truth. If you don't believe me, just go to a Fort Wayne basketball game, varsity basketball game, you see what I'm talking about. You don't see any females on the court.
Yeah.
And then
Very, very seldom.
very seldom.
Wow.
They brought in a couple from Indianapolis.
Which
Now,
I don't understand. But
yeah, there's one right here.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I wouldn't push back, but I would want to know, is it because there are less females interested or feeling like they can even get hired that they don't put themselves out there for that, or they aren't hiring women at all? Like,
that is
well,
one
and
reason.
so there is another female official that actually came through our class, and she's been officiating about 4 years now. A young black girl, and you know, she used to play, and she says because she had to go down to Indianapolis for a short stint for some family stuff going on, and so she says, well, while I'm down there, you know, I was reffing, and she goes, I'm getting boys varsity games.
Yes.
Wow.
Goes, I can't get
2 hours away.
2 hours away. She was like, I can't even get girls varsity games in Fort Wayne.
you
where
said
I
it was
live.
Indianapolis?
Yeah.
That's
Which
like
is-
yeah.
2 hours
2 hours
south.
away.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she's like, I can go down there and I can get all the boys games I want, or all
Yeah.
the varsity games I want. And I was like,
Interesting.
I know.
and so
very
it was like,
interesting.
it was really confusing. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're not even getting girls varsities here. And it was, so I was like, well, you know, I don't understand. I mean, and granted, you know, yes, I do get girls varsity games, but I feel like even some of that is, like, has been depleting. Like, I feel like I'm doing a lot more traveling during the season than I should have to.
Yep.
Like, I'm right here. We've got plenty of basketball here in the city. And then there are like a Friday or a Saturday night, and I'm the only female varsity official in the area, and I'm sitting at home.
Yeah, that's
So it's kind of
Something's off.
confusing. Yeah.
you
It
feel
is.
like it at
It
least.
is.
Yeah, you definitely feel like it, and it's just like I don't understand, and this might get me dinged even more. So who
You
knows?
can't be dinged any worse than we have been.
But
I mean, because for the last few years, we've traveled a lot outside of Fort, which I don't mind. I actually like traveling. So we have some of our students come to us and say, how come I can't get this? Can't that? I said, well, just get on the road.
yeah,
Why should I have to? Well, because you're not getting what you want here.
all right.
Yeah.
No man is a what is it? No man is a prophet in his own land, their own
Yep.
town.
No prophet gets honor in their hometown.
Right. So just travel. So what we advise people that come through our training is find somebody else in our training or somebody else who wants to travel with you and just split the cost. And people go, oh, I never thought of that. And if you get varsities, now you got 3 people to split the cost with. Yeah. And then we have one guy who came through our school, and he got what they call a sectional, which is a tournament at the end of the year. And he got a sectional bid. And he was the first one to come through the class to get it. And we were like, oh, all right, Cam, good job. And then he's like, yeah, man, but I have to travel. I said, well, what you do is you travel, because now that part, I think he was going around the Indianapolis area. Yeah, he was Indianapolis, I think he was going up around South Bend area.
South Bend
area. And I said, well, those people like you, right? He goes, oh, man, these ADs really. I said, well, guess what? You're becoming the expert in those areas. Take people with you, groom them, and then you're creating your own team. I said, he goes, I never thought of that. I said, well, that's what you do. If the people here are not giving what you want, you go to people that appreciate you.
Right. Yeah, we've been blessed, like we said before, we have the 3 of us. And so
they love seeing us come.
Yeah.
Especially on girls' games.
Yeah. So I'll schedule up some stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, if you want one of us, you got to take all of us. And they're like, absolutely, we love it,
I'll have to search for others.
So I'm surprised the local media hasn't eaten this story up. I'm like, this would be a story I'd be doing. Yeah, for sure.
I don't think most of the local media are aware of it, and we're not people to go out and toot our own horn and say we're doing this, because we just love officiating. Yeah. Now, one thing I'll say about girls basketball, and I love telling people this, it pertains to the question you're talking about. Girls varsity coaches love seeing us come, and the main reason they love seeing us come is because I'll tell a coach, because I had a game recently, and there was 2 girls. And I think it was middle school. It was out at Sport 1. They had the ball tied up. Well, most officials jump ball right away. It's not us. I looked at them. I kid you not. They wrestled for this ball like 3 to 5 seconds. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I just watched them. Nobody traveled. And one ripped it away. Cool, let's go.
Yeah, right.
So I'm chasing them down court. And the coach is over there. How's that not a travel? How's that not a jump? Had a timeout. And he comes out. He says, how is that not a jump ball? I said, Coach, let me tell you my motto. It's simple. If I'm not going to call it in a boys' game, I'm not going to call it in a girls' game. He looked at me. He goes, are you serious? I said, I'm dead serious. And he goes, oh, okay, just be consistent. So we had another tie up at the other end. Just watched them. They wrestled or lose. We went. And he looked at me. He goes, good job. Because people aren't used to that. They're used to in girls' game, every time you touch a ball, jump ball.
Jump ball. Or every time a girl falls. Oh, my God, we got to have a whistle.
She puts her hand on the foul. These are not girls.
Right.
Yeah. They're athletes.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of coaches appreciate when they see the 3 of us come, because we have the same attitude. It's like, we're going to treat them like athletes. We're not going to treat them like girls.
Yep.
And a lot of officials, unfortunately, I don't have to mention names. It's not necessary. But there's a lot of officials I work with over the years that when I do a girls' game with them, it ticks me off, because as soon as there's a jump ball, their whistle hits. And I've asked them, I said, why do you call that jump ball? Because they tie the ball up. If there was a boys' game, would you have done that? Well, boys wouldn't have got tied up like that. Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they do.
They have.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, they're stronger. So you do discriminate. Crane, why are you going there? It ticks me off, but
it's got to be hard to show a united front, because I always wonder, like, within refs, like, when they disagree with the call that another official called in the game. I'm like, what do they do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we do talk about things at halftime or even after the game. We'll talk about different things, but I've never been confrontational to the point where I'm like, well, you shouldn't have called that.
No.
I mean, I had a guy, we were doing a game one time, and he's since retired, but I'm on the sideline. The ball goes out of bounds. Yes, the girl was touched. And I was like, but the ball went out of bounds. I was going to give him the ball back. So why call a foul?
Yeah.
He comes from way over here and calls the foul. And I looked at him, and I just switched. I just walked away, and I was like, okay, this is that. And that, he did a lot of that. Like, he was always in what we call our area. So we have areas. We have what we call primary coverage areas.
Yeah, PCA.
And so he was way out of his area, all the way in mine. And he's like, well, I had to come and get that. And I'm like, next time, don't.
Just could have let that one go, I'm sure.
I'm like, that, I had it. Yes, she did touch her, but we were giving him the ball back. So we didn't need to have a whistle. And nobody wants us blowing our whistle all the time.
Yes.
Nobody wants us calling fouls all day long.
Especially G.
Oh,
we're not there to watch that. Nobody's there to watch us blow our whistle. So, let's focus on what needs to be gotten and
get
get
the obvious.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that, that goes back to, there's a lot of guys in the area that are not used to reffing with females. So they think when you walk in, just like you get in the reporting industry, they think, oh, she's going to need help. Oh, cute little thing. She's going to need help. And
like a co-ed game.
Or we automatically have to prove ourselves. Like I have to prove that I understand basketball. And they're like, oh, wow, she knows what she's talking about. I'm like, why'd you automatically think I didn't come in?
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't think that if any man sat next to you, you would assume that if they're here, they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I think that's a cultural thing that men have, we've adopted. And some of us have been blessed to work with females close enough that it's taught us a more sensible way of thinking. But, I think I think some men have been raised in families where they respect everybody no matter what. But the culture pretty much presses on men. You're the strong one. You have to protect the weak ones, which are females. And some of them feel you're the strong one. You have to protect the ones who are blacks or the Hispanic. That's the way they view it. I've worked with that for almost 30 years. I help the ones that are willing, and the ones that aren't, I just step right on by them and keep moving. But like she's saying, the officiating world is no different than yours. We disagree with each other at times, but we're all independent contractors, and through respect, we should just keep our words to ourselves. Now, I have had some officials try to tell me how to do my job, and I'm looking at them going, all right, you got a couple more words before you're going to get in trouble with me. But it's the way.
But we got to get through the game. So one way or another, you got to get through the game.
And try to show that we have a united front.
Want to know what pet peeve I have?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question.
Okay, cool, because she mentioned it.
She crossing her arms on that.
Well, no, so when we're commentating, we got to talk. We got to fill time. Right. So when officials take a long time to review, that kills me. And in the G League right now,
she's rolling her eyes.
In the G League, we have a new rule in the last few years, and I'm sure you guys have seen because Reggie played with it. But it's the 1-for-2 free throw rule. So they're not shooting 2 free throws. If it's before the last 2 minutes of the game.
I don't like that rule.
They're trying to speed up the game because
I know, but I don't like that rule.
So I thought it was weird the first year, but now I'm so used to it. I'm like, okay, it is what it is.
I'll tell you why I don't like that rule is because we do so many tournaments. And, they have their house rules, and they do that.
Oh, okay.
It does speed up the game, but to me, it takes away from the quality of the game to me.
Yeah, the anticipation factor that you're like, oh, well, they make 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my thing is, if you're a professional, you should be able to shoot 2 free throws and have to earn your points.
Yeah, especially as a professional.
Yeah. And, at the younger level, like what we do, like he said, the house rules, when we go to Spiece or Sport One, whatever, they do that because they have a running clock.
That's why they do it, because they only have 1 hour per game.
And so, with the running clock, I get it. 1 for 2, let's move on. 1 for 3, cool. And then the last minute of each half, it'll be normal basketball. And so, because the clock will stop. And so then we'll shoot free throws normally. But at the higher levels, no, they should have to earn their points.
You got a strong opinion about that?
I'm like, you're outspoken about this one. I'm like,
millions of dollars. You can't make a free throw? Sorry. And then they step over the line. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
They allow them, they're grown men, to step over the free throw line. We don't allow that at high school.
Yeah.
Middle schoolers can't step over the line.
Fundamentals don't seem to matter somewhat in the professional ranks because as a female, you're not super athletic, so you have to learn fundamentals. And so I would always ask Reggie, why is this allowed? Is this something I learned in high school that's wrong? Can you show me this on film so I know when I'm going through it? Why is this okay? And he'd be like, oh, they just don't call it. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, consistency. Yeah. The other pet peeve, please. I mean, I know each level is not consistent because there's different things, but you would think fundamentals would be consistent, in my opinion.
Give me an example of another fundamental that you see that is not enforced.
I mean, traveling.
We know the travel.
I would just say foul calling in the post.
Okay.
I don't even know. There's just so many different ones. I don't know.
There are times when I'm watching an NBA game and I'm confused as to what a foul is.
Yeah, all the time.
Because sometimes it seems like there's very little contact and there's a foul called, and other times there's massive contact and there's nothing called.
Or the touch foul, when they go into the hoop, they'll call it because they hit him here, but then a guy just takes another guy out and you don't see anything.
Right. And so at that point, I am confused on that, and the consistency, I get it. But one of the things I always tell people is, from an officiating standpoint at our level, I've never done NBA, so I can't speak for that. But at our level, the consistency is only as consistent as the game is, because we're out there for the first quarter, the second quarter, and we have this game going on. We go in at halftime, and we come back out, and all of a sudden, the players have changed the game. Mm-hmm. The team that was just lighting it up can't hit the broadside of the barn.
And the other team is pressing,
and now they're coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
there's adjustments, and so then people are like, well, because you cost us the game. No, you stopped playing, you stopped hitting, you stopped, you started fouling more because you were getting frustrated, or or you were pressing, and so then therefore you were hitting more fouls, and so then. I always try to tell people, I'm like, we are consistent, but because we have to adjust to the game as the players are adjusting. And so when you go in at halftime and you give them that great halftime speech and they come out and they didn't adjust it, that's not my fault. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry you missed your free throws. How many free throws did you miss? How much did you lose the game by?
Yeah. What happens though when you, like, not you guys specifically, but officials in general, when it's super lopsided when it comes to fouls, that's a pet peeve, especially in college. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm watching my team, I'm like, why are we always getting fouls? We have 7, they have 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's tough. Sometimes, and the funny thing is, a lot of times, so we'll have a timeout or whatever, and so we'll come together and we'll talk about it. We're like, okay, we're at 7-1. Make sure we, get a good one. Get it if it's there. We're not just gonna make it up.
Yeah,
but. Make sure that let's try to, get one if we can see. And I'm looking. I don't, they're literally playing great defense. Like, I'm looking for a foul.
And I would agree with that. But before I answer, I just want to know, you see the reporter in her, how she switched things. She's asking us the questions.
Yeah.
That's pretty
sorry.
slick.
It's in my nature.
I'm sorry. Believe me, I felt that a few minutes ago when you were talking. I'm like, this is good. You were talking so much. And I was like, she's supposed to be doing all the talking.
Well, because I'm interested. You guys have knowledge I don't know about. So it's a weird dynamic.
Well, no, it's cool because, that's great. But I tell you, I was going to say the same thing she does. When we come together as officials and we notice that the foul count is off, and we know, because the coaches let us know.
Yeah, everybody in the gym lets us know. 7-1.
And I look at
great. I'm glad you can look at numbers.
And I looked at one coach that said that. I said, good to know you can count, coach, and just kept going down the court. And then we come together and we talk about it during a timeout or a half hour and going, yeah, but you know what? This team isn't fouling. And I'll go tell a coach, well, coach, one thing is your team is going to the hoop. Mm-hmm. Their team is going to the hoop. Your team is taking threes.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with it? Coach,
you're jacking up threes.
Here.
Yeah.
You guys are coming down shooting threes. The guy's trying to block him, but he's a foot away from him. That team's coming through the middle. You guys are slapping him. Well, you need to even it up. No, you need to tell your players.
Yeah,
to
go downhill. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Figure it out.
People don't look at things like that. That's the style you're playing, obviously. And then this team is more aggressive than this team.
Right.
Duh.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll have, especially in Fort Wayne, you'll have city teams that they play a very aggressive game, whereas schools in the county, they play a very don't touch us game. And they'll pass the ball all day long, and they'll pick and roll all day long.
Or they might do a lot of that, but then they'll kick it down into the big person.
Yeah.
And so then you've got a lot of contact down in that area more so than you do around the perimeter. So it's, and I tell people you have to look at the style of game that the teams are playing. That's probably why the foul count is different. And they say, no, if you look at the film and you watch the game, this team was playing a completely different game than this team. Mm-hmm. And so, you're going to have differences in fouls. And then if you have a team that is very, very skilled and you have a team that's not so skilled, the very, very skilled team, maybe they're going to have less fouls. And the other team, they don't move as fast. They're going to have more fouls. And then they're getting blown out too. Coach, you guys go back to practice, get rest. I don't know what to tell you. So one rule that so we just got our change in rules that are going to go through for the year.
Oh wow, this is a different rule.
So I love it actually because it goes coincides with what we do at the women's college level.
Right.
So at the high school level now, fouls are going to reset every quarter.
Oh wow.
And we go up to five fouls now before we're in the bonus. So when we get to 5 fouls, we'll be shooting 2 free throws for the rest of that quarter. And then to start the second quarter, fouls will start back at 0. So when we get to 5 again, then, then we'll be shooting.
You get 5 fouls per quarter?
Yeah, but see, we're used to
5
that.
team fouls.
Sorry. Okay, I thought you were saying person. I was
no.
I'm out there hitting people.
Right.
That'd be my time.
Who am I going to hit this quarter?
Yeah, so no, I'm sorry.
Yes,
5
yes.
team fouls.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it. Sorry, you could tell my violent nature.
I saw that violent look. She's like, we got to hit next. Yeah, but
hit 'em all.
that's going to be different because, it's always been 7
It's always been
fouls.
7 and 10.
And then you get 1 and 1.
Okay.
Well, they're eliminating the 1 and 1,
Yeah.
just going directly to 2. And they're telling people, stop hitting folks.
Yeah.
You're going to put them at the line sooner. So it'll be good.
Yeah, I really, like I said, I really like that that particular rule change because that's what we do at the women's college level.
And that's why I like it the most because we go to the high school game, then we go to women's game. Oh, I got to look at the rules again because the game is so much different than the rules.
Yeah.
But the other difference is I didn't see a change on this, but at the high school level, we, when we shoot 2 free throws, the subs come in after the first free throw.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at the college level, the subs come in before free throws are even shot.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, so that's where we really get confused because it's like, oh yeah, you can come in now.
Yeah.
And then in between the free throws, nobody can come in at the college level. And then after a made basket, they can come in.
Yeah, these are the things that I don't think about.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
there's so many little things in
There are.
officiating that I
There
would
are.
never understand. That's what gave me the respect when I talked to these other women. I was like, oh, okay, they take this as seriously as the players do. Like, she was like, I don't sleep after a game when I know I had a bad call or I've
Right.
rewatched my film. Like, I'm thinking about this. I'm working on it. I'm like,
Right.
And
So-
the thing is, we're not so concerned with making the right call so we can make everybody happy.
yeah.
The reporters and the fan. We don't care about that.
We want to
wanna
get the call right.
because we know as officials, I kicked that call.
Yeah,
And I want to get the
yeah.
call right. So
Yep.
when we kick a call, we're talking about on the way home.
Yep.
We're talking about when we get home. Sydney will come home and, she'll have a TBL game and she's coming home talking about, oh, that rule has been bothering me. And it'll bother her for a week.
Wow.
And we know there's no way to get to perfection, but we're always striving for perfection.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize that. And so people get caught up in all the stuff that they think are bad calls. Most of the calls I make, I'm 95% sure that I got the call right.
Yeah.
I've learned after almost 30 years, if I'm not 100% sure, I'm not gonna blow my whistle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very,
if we're not 100% sure,
Just don't knock on blow a
you
whistle.
couldn't hear that?
I don't go by what I hear.
People clap their hands all the time.
I be slapping my hip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that
I have to
person
see
got
it.
fouled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see it.
Yeah.
And if I blinked and missed it, coach, I missed it. I'm sorry. I work harder next time.
I had a college game this past season, and the home coach got all upset because his player was on the floor, and he was like, she just, the defender just, threw her to the floor. We went. None of us saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 3 officials, none of us saw that happen, and we saw the girls on the floor, but we did not know how they got there. We went back and watched the video. His player literally ran into the back of the other girl. Like, she just, because she turned her head, wasn't watching where she was going, and the girl stopped, and she ran into the back of her and fell and actually pulled that girl down. So if we were going to call a foul, it would have been on his player.
It wouldn't have gone your way, bro.
It would not have gone his way. And
Right.
and so we're all looking at that thinking, what did you see on that? You know? But it's funny, how
Contact.
Yeah, just contact. It's just funny how we see things from one perspective, and we just harp on that one thing, and it's like, no, there are angles, there are different, there's different things going on, and so.
And it's interesting because when I watch old footage or highlights, I notice that officiating has really been under fire lately.
Yeah.
People have really been on officials for the last probably 3 to 5 years.
And we probably critique ourselves harder than anybody else.
You guys have no idea.
Yeah.
Because we know that people are wanting us to be perfect, which to me is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no
wanna
other
go to-
job. Do you expect perfection?
I want to go to their jobs and tell them how terrible they are and how much they suck. And
Yeah,
You
because
know.
it amazes me.
they put that in the wrong shelf, and you know.
But Sydney had a TBL game the other night, And I've forgotten where we went. But anyway, we went with her. It's out of town. It's a couple hour drive. We get there, and for those who don't know what the TBL is, it stands for the Basketball League.
Okay.
It's right up under the G League. So I think TBL kind of feeds into the G League. G League feeds into the NBA. And as people know, Sydney wants to go NBA. So she's doing this game, and when we walk in, she goes upstairs. Her partners go upstairs. Tanya goes with them, and the home coach is there to greet us. And I'm standing there talking to a dude's about 6'9". So I'm looking up to him, and I said, so how long have you been coaching? He goes, oh, this is my second year. I said, okay. So you probably miss it. He goes, I do. I said, so between coaching and playing, which one do you like? Which one you wish you could do the most? Without hesitation. Oh, playing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, you're in administration now, but you still okay. And I said, well, coach, I'm telling you right now, being a new coach, don't be yelling at my partners. I'm gonna tell you right now, they're like me. They're sensitive, and we're laughing about it. And he says, "Oh no, I don't fuss. I don't."
Oh.
And he said, "Oh, you won't hear a word out of me." For the most part, he was like that. Now his team was up 15 points at one point in the game. They were up 15. They stopped playing. Second half, the other team comes back. The other team from Alabama. They come back. They beat them by what, 9 or 10 or 12 or 15 or something like that. It was a high score.
Dang.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
They come back and they beat them. And then the coach, during the last quarter, he is yelling at one of the officials, talking about, oh, he's swallowing his whistle. And I'm sitting there, and the only thing going to my mind is, he told me he doesn't say anything to the officials, okay? And I'm just watching. Well,
he got a technical.
Yeah.
Oh,
he got one technical.
From the
and
same
then,
one he was yelling at.
Yeah.
The
And then
ref.
after the game,
The refs are walking off the
Yeah.
court, and he's following them and yelling at them and obscenities. And everything.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I'm looking at him watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, number one, you told me you don't talk to officials. He said, I'm very respectful. Number two, I'm thinking your emotions made that a lie. And then number three, you're yelling, and you guys were up 15 points.
yeah, they gave that game
It
away.
couldn't have been your coaching or your team.
I
No,
sat behind the
not at
bench.
all.
I watched him.
The lack of coaching, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
One thing I noticed about him, he's sitting on the bench, and he pulls his chair out in front of the players like they do at a timeout. And he's got his thing down on his lap, and he's got it angled up a little bit to himself. And he's drawing out this play, and he's just talking as he's drawing, talking. And I'm looking at the player, and they're going like this, trying to see what he's got the board up towards himself. And I'm thinking, this is a young he's not even he's just talking in his mind about what he sees this should do.
Yeah.
But he's not communicating. And then he's going to yell at the officials, you're up 15 points. You deserve to lose. It's nobody's fault but you and your
Right.
team.
Yeah.
And, when I hear things and see things like that, it just amazes me that people always want to look at officials and they want to blame officials. And
Well, they
I'm
got to blame
going,
somebody.
Yeah, but I'm going, how can you sleep at night trying to blame somebody else for you're up 15 and then
Yeah.
you want to blame the official? And then he got a tech. He got that tech, but then I was in the locker room during the post game, and the chief said, "Yeah, I'm going to report him to the TBL, which
Yeah.
means he's going to get fined."
Wow.
So I'm thinking you went from no, I don't say anything to the officials, to getting a tech, to losing the game, up 15, losing the game, and now you're going to get fined too.
Yep.
And then I'm wondering, what are you going to learn from that? So I'm just hoping that as a young coach, that will be a lesson to him instead of looking at it and going more into depression of being upset with officials. But Tanya's telling me I'm talking too much. So anyway, G, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's fun.
Any last comments, questions?
Not comments or questions. I just really respect what you guys do and to have done it for so long, because like the constant nagging and the increase of people that have an opinion on what you do, I feel like that'd be super difficult. It just takes a lot of patience, which I don't have. So just respect what you guys do. Glad you guys are getting it out there and hopefully training up a whole new group of or generation of people that are interested in doing what you guys are doing, staying around the game and doing it well.
Thank you. I think one
Thank
reason
you,
it's
thank you.
easier for us too, though, is because we have three of us in the same household.
Yeah.
And so we have moral support and spiritual support.
We all understand what we're going through.
Yeah, and
so
we
that's
talk about it a
helpful.
lot. That
Yeah.
helps.
You guys are all different as far as like, male, female, generations. Like each of you have your own experience, so you can give that to people.
Right.
I think that's really unique within your family dynamic.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate that. We really loved having you and the hubby on.
Yeah.
And what you guys gonna do with the rest of your day?
Hang out, you guys.
That's right.
Hopefully
That's
eat
what we're doing
something
today.
good. I don't know. I heard we have donuts.
We have donuts.
So you want me to stop talking so you can get to the
Yes.
donuts? All right. Go ahead, Tanya. Close us out. I gotta stop talking, you guys.
Well, just thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for being a part of our family.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for giving us a gorgeous grandbaby.
Oh, yeah.
She's adorable.
All
So,
right. Good to have you, G.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening to Ref Time, powered by RefTrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media, Ref Time is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit RefTrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.